The battle for Hawkins is coming. The final season is coming. Let's go into the Upside Down and find out everything we know so far. Theories and predictions for Stranger Things Season 5. Hello and welcome to Screen OD. I hope you're having a good day. Thanks for tuning in. If you're new to the channel, my name is Tim. I'm an editor and a journalist. I've been talking and writing about TV, movies and entertainment for about 15 years now. If you're not new to the channel, you already know that. Well, it's great to have you here because today we are talking all about Stranger Things Season 5. Now, if you were there for the epic Season 4 finale, then you'll know that there's a lot to talk about. Now, before we go on, I just want to say that there, of course, are going to be spoilers from Season 4 Part 1 and Season 4 Part 2 and all of the seasons before that in this video. So if you haven't seen up to the most recent releases of Netflix's series Stranger Things, I suggest that you probably don't watch this video yet. You go and watch Stranger Things and then come back a bit later. Everything after that is up for grabs. And of course, as we go through and we look at the release date and we look at the cast and we look at some of the theories of things that might happen, if there are things that you think might happen in Stranger Things or exciting things that you want to say about the show, please do leave them in the comments. So let's start our journey into Season 5 of Stranger Things by asking a big question, which is, when's it going to be on?
Don't go anywhere. Fine, Dad.
Okay, I've got some good news and some bad news on Season 5, and then probably a bit more good news. Actually, it's mainly good news. The good news is that there's going to be a Season 5. Netflix have confirmed that there will be another season of the show, which is good because it means we get to see what happens next. The slightly bad news is that it's going to be the final season of Stranger Things. So if you love the show, you're going to have to really enjoy this one because there won't be any more. And then you're going to have to go back and rewatch it or find something else to watch. The good news is that we have a video, the best shows to watch if you like Stranger Things, which you can go and check out now if you want to find something else to watch whilst you're waiting for Season 5. Now, the good news that comes from the bad news is that the Duffer Brothers, right back at the beginning of this, said that they were going to make a show that was across 4 to 5 seasons. They had a story arc that they thought out that would go along in that kind of pattern. Now, that is actually good news that it's ending after 5 seasons because it means that probably the story that they came up with back then is the story that they're going to tell. And as they've said at various points during the process, you know, things deviate, things weave about, characters go on journeys that perhaps they weren't expecting. They work with writers, they work with actors, and all of these people bring something to it which will change the way that the story goes a little bit. But ultimately, it sounds like this is a show that's been well thought out and will end with a conclusion that is likely to satisfy its audience if it's been well thought out and there are answers to the questions that people are asking right now. Now, obviously, some American shows can just keep going and just keep going because they're still making money, they're still popular, people just keep making more seasons of it. And it sounds like this isn't what they're going to do with Stranger Things. So we should be in for a treat with Season 5. Okay, sorry, there is probably a little bit more bad news that goes with the good news that went with the bad news that came with the good news. And
friends don't lie.
That is that we might have to wait a little while to see what happens in Season 5, that final season. Now, if we do a little bit of maths and we look back at history, and the history of the show isn't necessarily an indicator of how it will work out in the future, but in Season 1 came out in July 2016. There was then a gap of about a year and a bit or so until Season 2 that came out in October 2017. And then there was actually a year and 3/4 gap until Season 3 that came out in July 2019. But then there was a very big gap of almost 3 years until Season 4 came out, and it came out in 2 parts in May and July in 2022. Now, we know that the long gap between Season 3 and Season 4 was primarily because of the pandemic that hit the world in 2020 and obviously slowed down production, stopped production on many shows, and Stranger Things was not immune to that. Now, so we probably don't have to wait another 3 years until we see Season 5 of the show. However, looking at the history of Stranger Things, it's not a show that's made at an electric pace. It's not something that you might see with certain network shows where it comes out exactly a year later every year. It looks like there's potential for it to be well over a year until we see season 5. In realistic terms, I think even if it went into production very quickly, it's unlikely to be coming out until very, very late in 2023, but probably much more likely the date for season 5 of Stranger Things is going to be sometime in 2024. Now, it might be early in 2024, it might be in the summer of 2024, a bit like they've gone for a summer release of season 4 across 2 parts. Now, whether or not it'll be in 1 part, in 2 parts, and whether or not the episodes will be feature length like they have been in season 4, we don't know yet. But it's likely we're going to have to wait for well over a year and probably closer to 2 years until we get to see what happens in Hawkins at the very end.
Let's do it.
Okay, so where are we at? Well, at the end of season 4, a lot of things had happened. And what we do know is that Vecna, or Henry, or One, is causing a lot of problems. And we do know that Kate Bush is running up the hill into the charts again. And we do know that we've lost some friends along the way. There's been some pretty tragic elements to season 4, parts 1 and 2. It's been dark, it's been exciting, and it's been a season that I think has drawn a lot of attention from new viewers as well as people who are massive fans of Stranger Things and have been for many years. It's been a real hit, but there are lots of questions that now need to be answered as we look forward to season 5. And as I say, there could be quite a long wait, so there's going to be some speculation and some theories that build over time. But here's a big one that we need to talk about, and it's what's happening in Hawkins now. At the end of season 4, we see the 4th gate has been opened, and that has meant that the dam between Hawkins and the Upside Down has been broken. We've been warned that that could happen, and it has happened. And the people of Hawkins, of course, still don't seem to ever believe anything that the kids say, and they are convinced that there has been an earthquake. Now, as we see at the very end of season 4, we start to see what people are calling snow falling from the sky. Now, the kids of Hawkins and we know a lot better. We know that's not snow. We know that finally the Upside Down and Hawkins are no longer separated because the gates have been opened and those 2 worlds are colliding. Now, what does that mean for Hawkins? Well, we don't know quite yet, but we can see that everything is starting to die as it is in the Upside Down. So is what we saw in the Upside Down not just an alternative reality, but was it actually a prediction of what Hawkins would look like very soon? So what's going on with Vecna then? Or should we say Henry, or should we say One? Let's just call him Vecna for now because it's easier. At the end of season 4, it looked like Vecna might be on the ropes a bit. He was being pummeled with fire from different angles in Russia in the Upside Down. He was being shot with guns. He was being telekinetically attacked by El. And all of those things seem to have Vecna in quite a lot of trouble. He seemed to be weakened. His powers and the hive mind was being attacked from every corner. But then we see him blown out the window and he disappears. Now, Vecna is clearly still alive and on the run, and his powers are still there because we can see what's happened in Hawkins and the snow and the earthquake style thing as the dam's broken. But we also know that from talking to Will, who has this kind of special connection with Vecna and the Mind Flayer, and we know that now that they're all the same thing, he can feel in his neck and he knows that this is a force that hasn't gone away.
He's not going to stop. Not until he's taken everyone.
So Vecna is still there, but has Vecna been in any way wounded by what's gone on? Have his powers been reduced, or can he just go back and recharge and start again? These are questions that we still don't know when it comes to Vecna, but what we do know about Vecna is that he is hell-bent on changing everything in the world. He has a vision of a more beautiful place, and we think that it's likely that he's not going to stop at any point. We've also learned that he's able to harness the power of the Upside Down to become the Mind Flayer and the kind of black smoke And that means that he could be doing that again in the future. So he's not going to be the easiest character to pin down when finally, and we assume some sort of final battle has to take place between him and the residents of Hawkins. Okay, so next we need to talk about Max. The last time we saw Max, she was lying in a hospital bed. She was in a coma. She had broken limbs. She had been blinded, apparently, by Vecna. Now, at one point, we thought that Max was dead. And in fact, as the gate opened, we assume that Max is dead. However, it feels like when Elle fought back on her behalf, that was something that didn't happen. Now, in the hospital, they say that she'd been dead for a few minutes, but she is apparently alive at the end of season 4. But what's going to happen? Well, we don't know. Things aren't looking great for her. Now, perhaps there's a clue at the end, and a lot of viewers have spotted this, that Lucas is reading a book to her in the hospital, which is called The Talisman, which is by Stephen King and Peter Snarb. And this is a novel, a dark fantasy, which tells the story of a young boy who goes on a quest to save his mother who is dying of cancer. Now, could that be a clue? Could this be some sort of metaphor or allegory for what is going to happen in season 5 with both Lucas and the other kids? Will they go on a quest in season 5? And if they are successful, if they are able to beat Vecna and bring down the Upside Down once and for all, is that something that will save Max and bring her back? And perhaps could it save others along the way? It's worth us also thinking about Elle and her safety. Now, we know that Sullivan has been on the loose trying to catch Elle. He is convinced that everything that's gone wrong, and every time there's been an incident with the Upside Down, this is to do with the powers of Elle. And he seems to stop at nothing to get to her. He's already rampaged through the country trying to capture her. So when things do kick off in season 5, it feels like he's not going to be going away, and therefore it feels like there's going to be fighting on more than one front as things start to hot up. There are two relationship stories that have captured the imagination of viewers for a long time, but in season 4 they really come to a head. The first one is about Will and his feelings for Mike. Is Will in love with Mike? Is that what he's trying to say in season 4? We know that his relationship with him has been tested by Mike's relationship with Elle, and there have been various occasions during season 4 where Will is clearly trying to say to Mike things which he's projecting and saying about other things. And, you know, it's something that's also noted by Jonathan in season 4. Now, is Will ever going to say what he wants to say? And indeed, is what he wants to say the thing that some people are speculating that he wants to say? Now, that's a question that I think remains open at the moment. But in season 5, when everything comes to a head, is it a time that he will actually say something out loud? Who knows? We don't know yet. The other relationship that people have talked about a lot is that between Nancy and Steve. Now, Nancy and Steve have in season 4 ended up having to work together to try and battle Vecna, and they've been quite effective in that. And Nancy admits, and she tells Jonathan this, that Steve has matured, he's grown up and he's changed. And Steve on screen is certainly becoming a character who we are starting to like more. He is more of a leader that you would want to follow now, and he is someone who is helping everyone try to survive. So will that relationship between Nancy and Steve continue to develop, and how does Jonathan fit into that? That's another question that lots of people are asking around the relationships of the kids whilst they're fighting these higher forces.
Chrissy, this is for real.
Poor old Eddie. That's what a lot of people are thinking. Not only has he been killed, or apparently killed, but he's also being blamed for everything. The people of Hawkins are convinced that he was a cult leader and that the Hellfire Club was a movement that has caused all this mayhem that has brought Hawkins and the people of the town to its knees. Now, a lot of fans are thinking this isn't right. We need to do something about this. It feels like a relatively small plot point, but I think to people who watch the show, it's important that somehow we find a way of making sure that Eddie's reputation is restored, and not just restored, that people understand what a hero he was. Now, the other thing that is going around the internet quite a lot around Eddie is that he isn't actually going to be dead, and that they'll find a way of bringing him back. Now, that sounds like it's quite difficult from what we've seen. However, remember with Hopper, we all thought that he was dead and there was a way of bringing him back. So, you know, perhaps it could happen. Maybe when Vecna is defeated, everyone that Vecna has killed or his hive mind has been involved with will be restored. We don't know that yet, but maybe it will happen. So perhaps there's a chance that Eddie can return. And I think a lot of people have got their fingers crossed, hoping that Eddie will come back. So in conclusion, what will season 5 of Stranger Things be about? Well, it's going to be an epic battle. A battle between good and evil. A battle between the kids of Hawkins, Indiana and the few adults who believe them, and Vecna in his many forms. Will the world become the Upside Down, or will it be returned back to how it was before Will went missing in season 1 of the show? We know the Duffer Brothers have got a plan. We know the story arc has been written. So hopefully there will be answers. There will be conclusions that will satisfy us all. Now, there's talk of a spin-off coming of Stranger Things, and there are lots of different ideas of what that might be. The Duffer Brothers have spoken about it and have said that they probably won't be directly involved in the writing and directing of it the same way as they are with Stranger Things, but they will obviously be involved in the project. Now, what could that spin-off be? Well, there's lots of different ideas floating around, but if you've got a good one, put it in the comments below. And also let us know what you think might happen in season 5 of the show. Hopefully, we'll see the return of many of the characters who were in season 4, but I'm sure that there will be some surprises too, and some new characters who will arrive. It's going to be epic. It's going to be exciting. Stranger Things season 5 is coming to a screen near you at some point in the future. Until then, do go check out all the other videos on Screen OD, and consider subscribing to the channel if you want to kick back and get all the best streaming content direct to your feed. Hit that like button if you've liked what you have seen, and we will see you again very soon. Thanks so much for watching.